Best.Podcast.Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
I didn't get involved in local politics because I wanted to be a politician. I got involved in local politics because I felt like there was a problem that needed to be solved.
Hi, Alex Gertzberg.
Hi, Molly Gebler. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
We all survived the storm of the century.
Right?
Please.
Was it? Did you get a lot? You got a lot,
mean,
right?
It's Cleveland. It snows. I just think it was a little
It was hyped.
overkill. A little
Come on.
hyped.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, emptying stores and...
Well, here's my theory is that there's more eyeballs on the news when the news says this is the storm of the century. I think that they hype it up because they want you to keep watching and tuning in. And same thing with although then it carries into like social media and then it gets contagious and everyone else is talking about stocking up and stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I snuggled in. It's the best time. It gives you an excuse to not do anything and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
So I literally snuggled in.
I mostly am, my main contention is with the cold. I'm not a big fan of that 8-degree nonsense, man.
Gotcha.
That's booty.
I don't know.
You don't
Maybe I'm
care.
warm-blooded that it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
So it's been like months since you and I were at this microphone table right here.
Since we've done some live taping, our listeners have been able to enjoy the best podcast ever week by week. They didn't skip a beat, but you and I have not been face to face in over a month.
I know. I've missed you.
I missed you so much. So
goodness.
much.
I just wanted to squeeze you.
Traveling.
I went on the trip of a lifetime.
Yes.
I sure did.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners.
I went to Argentina for a month. I lived there among the Argentinians, and it was just... here's all I'm going to say about it, because I could spend an hour talking about it. I think that if at all possible, even if you don't have the means, because I frankly didn't know how I was going to pull it off, and I didn't think I could afford it, and I did it anyway. But if you are able to, and I'm talking to you too, Molly Gebler, right? Even though I know you hate flying places.
Correct.
Take a train, maybe. If you are able to not just vacation somewhere for a couple of weeks, but go live somewhere for a month, take a sabbatical, take a hiatus from work. Although you can work. I worked every day.
Right.
I think it's a life-changing experience. It was really meaningful in a way that I don't think a couple of weeks in Argentina would have been.
Why? Like, was it like, yeah. Did you meet friends? Did you?
No, we actually didn't make any.
Really?
Well, we made some friends, but nothing like no one that we would keep writing to. Like our tour guys became our friends and cab drivers.
It so?
So when something happens when you go about your day doing the same things that you're doing here, but you're doing them on the streets of a different country. I don't know what that thing is, but something feels different. It changes you.
Okay.
You know, the last week that we were there, we didn't have anything planned. So we would our day for most of that month was we would go running through some new neighborhood. And then on our way back, we would walk back and stop at a cafe and have breakfast. And then we would come back and take a nap. And then this was after doing a little work in the morning, right? And then in the afternoon, which in Argentina, they have lunch and then they shut everything down for nap time, right? And then
My kind of country.
yeah, and then dinner is like at 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And then they stay out until like 5 a.m.
Wow.
on a Wednesday. It's crazy.
And what are they doing when they're staying out till 5 a.m?
Partying.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so then we would spend our afternoon walking around or working, we spent a lot of time in coffee shops, just like what we do over here at Heartwood.
I love you, Alex Kurtzberg.
And we like that I said Heartwood there.
I do. Or Tame Rabbit.
Both exceptional members of the mighty Chagrin Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Heartwood is not.
It's not?
No, they need to be. Call out to Heartwood. We'd love to have you chamber members. No, but that was just because it was local right here. They're a local mom and pop. So
come on, Heartwood.
Join
the chamber.
We'll make sure we tag them in this.
Yeah.
But great avocado toasts there.
Yeah. Yeah, good quinoa salads too.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so we spent a lot of afternoons in cafes reading and just hanging out. And it was really a great experience to live there and do stuff that we would do
like
here.
An eat, pray, love type of experience. Never saw it.
Don't know what you're talking about. I know a lot of people like that book though.
I just went off airplane mode for a second just in case has he been here before?
No, he could be getting lost as we speak. I think it's okay.
No, we're still in time. Good time.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that was my
you highly
month.
suggest.
I think everybody should go live abroad for a month at some point. And the other thing, and I may have said this, one of the main reasons that I really wanted to do this and have wanted to for a couple of years is this idea that I don't want to wait until retirement to do something like this because A, I might be dead tomorrow.
Right.
B, I may get like dementia or something, which I'm sometimes wonder about.
If it's already started.
Yeah, I might be well into it. But C is I'm not going to want to do the things that I want to do now. I'm not going to want to do the same things later.
Right.
Like we went up to the top of the Andes Mountains to go paragliding.
Wow.
I don't know that I'm going to want to do that when I'm 65.
Right.
We didn't go. We didn't go. It was too windy.
Boy.
The tandem
but
jumpers.
You went up there.
Yeah. They said it was muy peligro. That means very dangerous.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But that, and then we hiked like crazy. We walked all over these cool waterfalls and just did all kinds of stuff. We and just stayed out super late at nightclubs. I will tell you a real quick story. On New Year's Eve, we thought we were about to get mugged by our cab driver.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we were convinced that he was taking us to the outskirts of the city to do horrible things to us because we told him where we wanted to go and we were looking on our map and he was not taking us there. And he kept yelling at us. And the thing is, what we were told is that on New Year's Eve, all the cab drivers jack up their rates 300%.
Oh, wow.
Totally taking advantage of you, right? Which he did.
Right.
And and when we told him to stop the car and let us out, it was like a mile from where we needed to be, right? So our New Year's Eve started out horribly. Yeah. And we started walking back.
So where do you still think that's where the plan was?
He didn't speak any English and he was yelling at us the whole time. We stopped, as we were walking, we kept stopping at bars so that we would have a drink on
Nice.
New Year's when the clock hit midnight. And every bar we go into, you can't even get in because everything's reserved for the New Year's party, the big New Year's party there. Because we're in Puerto Madero, which is the big fireworks. It's like their Times Square. So we're like despondent. It's a quarter till midnight.
You need a drink.
Gotta have a drink. We haven't even caught a buzz. You know what I mean? And we think we just got murdered.
Right.
We were about to get murdered.
Right.
So we're walking. And we're going through these like really thick crowds, and everyone's pushing and it was just a mess. We were depressed at 11:45 p.m. We get there and I go, let's go to that Hilton over there, right? Which is right next to it. We go to the Hilton. The bar is like practically empty. The dude gives us these really heavy pours. We take them outside. We watch the fireworks. We do the countdown in Spanish, which was interesting. And we have a great time. So then we go back into that bar at the Hilton And now there's a ton of people there, but the dude remembers us. So he serves us and we stay there and we drink for like an hour. And you know what he does? He gives us bracelets to go to this secret party downstairs at the Hilton. And we partied there all night long.
Oh my.
And it was all you can eat and all you can drink. And those dudes paid like hundreds of dollars for it.
Oh my gosh.
So that was our New Year's.
How fun.
It was amazing. And you know who was there? Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago.
Really?
Was at that Hilton. Yeah.
Huh.
It was crazy. What did you do for New Year's? Were you in Times Square? You were in New York, weren't you?
No. We went a couple weeks before that. So long ago. Who the hell remembers?
It was 21
We went
days
to
ago.
Bull and Bird for dinner.
How was that?
It was very good. Very,
Excellent.
very good. Their shrimp cocktail is phenomenal.
I love Bull and Bird.
So good. And FYI, Restaurant Week's coming up January 28th.
So everyone has already experienced it.
Okay.
That's listening to this.
Perfect.
And they loved every minute of it.
Yes. And we were going to go to the popcorn ball drop, but we had Sam and with the twin babies in her belly. We just went home and relaxed there and watched it all on TV.
Lovely. Sam and her babies are going to meet the world together on what day?
Well, that's the question. March 27th is the due date, but they stopped her from working already. Right. So I'm gonna. We have a bet going.
Ooh.
I'm March 17th.
I want to.
You want in?
Yeah, I want in on that.
So I'm saying St. Patrick's Day because if my mother has anything to do with it up above, then they're coming out on St. Patrick's Day.
But they're due March 21.
They're 27th.
27th.
But twins are typically very early.
I'm going to go March 15th.
March 15th.
I think that's the Ides of March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody just Jan Jones our buddy Jan Jones just did March 21st because that is the first day of spring.
Okay.
March 21st.
Let me see when
so.
Oh, that's yeah. Well, my mom's birthday is March 20th.
Okay.
I think that's the first day of spring, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, hold on a second. Ides of March. It's my OCD kicking in. 15th, March 15th. That's
You're
when.
right. All right. So you're going for that.
Yeah, that's when
Okay.
Julius Caesar was assassinated.
Ooh, I don't like that.
No. It's cool. It's a really
No?
historic day.
Okay.
And then as they get older, people are like, when's your birthday? They can be like, it's the Ides of March, man.
The day that Julius Caesar was.
So one of the
murdered.
most famous events in history. So good luck, Sam.
Yes.
And
We're
is it
so
Mike?
excited.
Mark? What's his
David?
David? Jim.
Close.
I can't believe you're going to be a grandma.
I can't believe it.
When
I'm
I
so
squint,
excited.
like this, I could kind of see you as a grandma. But when I open my eyes like this,
I'm only 48.
I know. But that's why when I'm squinting, I kind of see.
What you're squinting, what is it? What are you seeing? That's
Well,
concerning
it's
to me.
blurring out the details. Right?
My young, vibrant,
Yeah.
no wrinkled
Yes.
skin and no gray hair. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha,
Like when I
yeah.
squint, I can kind of see like an old lady behind there.
Gotcha.
Right. But when I open my eye, I'm like, oh, it's
so
Mama.
excited. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
I just
Is
can't wait.
Is John Gebler very excited?
John Gebler is.
Good.
That's his namesake. It's really not, though. I mean, it is, but they're spelling it the way John.
All right.
They torture the baby.
They pick names.
Yeah,
That's right.
John and Mary.
John and Mary.
Yes,
very
traditional.
biblical. My goodness.
Mary after my mother and John after John. But they added the H. Put the H back in.
Not Jesus's mom, Mary.
No, my mom.
Anywho.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I wish them the best of luck. And is she going to use drugs?
I think so.
Yeah.
She's hoping.
I don't know why you used them, right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. One was regular and one was a C-section.
I really don't know.
God bless them, but
Yeah,
no,
I
thank you.
mean, I always think, whenever I hear someone say, no, I'm going natural, right? Like I got the doula over here and we're going to, and I always think to myself, that's great. That's awesome that you're willing to withstand that kind of pain, the most painful thing that,
Ever.
God made you have to go through. But these really brilliant scientists came up with this thing that the whole job of it is
I
to make
could see
that
your
pain go away.
sister. Did your sister, is she going to give birth in a pool? I could see Nellie giving birth in a pool.
Nellie is I believe with Bodie she used lots of drugs.
Oh.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So our guest today, very exciting,
Karl
local
Maersch.
famous person.
Yeah, he is. I think just like our good friend Paul Marnichek, who, by the way, folks, if any of you are listening to this or living in North Royalton, do yourselves a favor. You're going to want to vote for Paul Marnichek for council president.
In May, probably, right?
November, unless there's a primary
I would
before
think it would
then.
be May if he already filed.
No, I think it's November. I
Is
think it's
it?
like regular election. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That cat is he's definitely going places,
He's
and
on a
Karl
mission.
Maersch is going places.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate, Molly Gebler, that you and I know folks that are still at sort of the, on their way up.
The people level.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Karl is already the president of the Chagrin Falls Council.
Yeah, but that's a way station for him. He's on his way up.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. You think he's
For
going to be
sure.
mayor?
I don't know.
You think it's going to be Crandall versus Maersch?
No, because remember, I believe Steve Crandall said he wouldn't run against Karl.
I know, but I feel like we could egg them on. and I think we could start some smack talking.
I'm ready.
Hey, did you, by the way, you know what? I might bring this up with Karl too. I'll wait on
We'll
this.
wait.
Yeah,
We'll wait.
I had an idea.
And we're drinking fancy today. I'll tell you. Thank you to one of Alex's clients who gave him a thank you.
Folks, here's what you want to do. You want to go to cheapflightsfares.com because that's our client.
Oh, wow.
Don't get your stuff at Travelocity or Orbitz.
Well, don't say them.
Why?
Just say the other places.
Oh.
You're making a
Dude,
commercial
whatever.
for the
Those
other
places
people.
bite.
Yeah.
What you want to do is go to Cheap Flights Fares because those guys, not only are they outstanding clients of the Gertzberg Law Firm, but they happen to have thanked us
Good
this
taste.
year with a bottle of 2009 Dom Perignon, which we will drink right here.
I am so excited.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
Look, it comes in a fancy schmancy box
Fancy
and a book. You get a book.
A book? Well, we know I'm not going to read it.
So anyway, Karl, he's a registered patent attorney. He's the founder and president of West 4 IP. You know what IP stands for?
Intelligent people.
Yes.
Thank you.
And intellectual property.
Oh, damn it. I knew
And
that.
he is also, as Molly has said, the Chagrin Falls Village Council president, and has exceptional taste in music. He is a really good dude. I always enjoy talking to Karl, and
He's a
I
good
look
guy.
forward to talking to him right now, Molly.
Excellent.
Let's go get him.
Let's get him.
Let me ask you, Karl, do you need to do any traveling anytime soon?
Yeah.
Okay. What you're going to want to do, Karl, is you're going to want to go to cheapflightsfares.com.
.com. That's a .com or is it an app?
It's a .com.
Okay.
Not sure if they have an app, but they are a great young company that, for being a couple of young guys, I think they're in their 20s, are giving the big boys a major run for their money. Yeah.
That's
Actually,
very exciting.
I should have them talk to you about some patent work, actually.
Happy to help.
Yeah.
They've
going
got
to.
great tastes in
They sent us
champagne.
this
That is
2009
for
bottle of Dom.
sure.
Do you know anything about champagne?
I don't, but I know something about Dom.
Right.
And I see you have 3 glasses, so I feel like we're on the right track.
Yeah. He can count,
Take
folks.
that.
He
Actually,
can
here,
count.
I'll do some pouring over here.
I say we're gonna video this so that we can.
All See me smash the,
Yeah.
the thing.
I have former bartender experience.
Do you
Oh.
really? Here,
10 years.
do the honors.
Look at that.
Outstanding.
This is what you call.
You must have done nice work for them.
This is what you call transferring liability, Molly.
Yes, I see that. I see that. Especially when you saw me with the video camera, you're like, "This, I'm out."
Yeah.
Well, like Carl.
Well,
too.
you know what they did? They were a Cover My Six client, right? So did I tell you about Cover My Six? It's this legal audit we do for clients in the 6 areas most likely to cause liability for businesses.
Mazel tov.
So professional. Here you go.
That was boring, Carl.
I know.
I think you want to shake it up and then dump it all over a coach, don't you? Of some,
I think so.
I think you do.
yeah.
Oh, look at the bubble.
This is great.
This is
Yeah, right.
100%
What was the
favor of
you
this.
wanted? What was the beer you wanted? Breckenridge.
Oh, I
Amber
just
Ale?
threw that in there
Who
because you had a
cares
question.
about that, right?
I was
did.
like, if they're going to ask the question, I'll give them the answer. but-
Yeah.
Is
And
that?
if you wouldn't mind putting the bottle right here so I can get a nice little picture of that.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Nice
Got a
job.
little logo there.
Let's do it.
Wow.
All
Fantastic.
right, let's do a cheers.
Congratulations, Alex.
Thanks,
Must have
man.
been a good result.
Yeah.
They were happy. Happy
Good.
clients.
All right, then.
All right.
Good
I'm
Dom.
not doing any work
Second
tonight.
bottle ever in my world, in my life.
Karl Maersch.
No.
Maersch, close enough.
Maersch.
It's an Ellis Island thing.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
That close.
So we're in Germany. We are MA with an umlaut, RSH.
Okay.
But my
German.
great, might be one too many or one too few greats came through Ellis Island, and so they're hooked on phonics, and they assigned him this name. So now here we are,
So say it one more time.
Maersch.
Mine was Pap when they came over on Ellis Island, which means
Right.
priest.
That's true. What was your wife's maiden name? What did she transfer into from?
Oh, she didn't transfer at all. She's Abigail Stout, and she's Abigail Stout.
She's like, forget
Yeah.
about marriage. That's too complicated.
Well, it's not even that. It's that she's a strong, independent, professional woman that had her own
Excellent.
identity, and for a lot
Excellent.
of reasons, that was just not something she wanted to do, and I was totally fine with that.
Okay. That's respectful.
I mean, her name's Stout. It sounds like it's Smith. I mean, she has to spell it just like I do. So
I mean, you might
Carl has
consider
twins,
switching over
too.
to Stout, Carl. I mean,
that's been discussed.
That's a strong name. That's a
I'm
strong
saying.
name.
That's a good
That's
name.
a strong name. So Carl has twins as well. Yeah, I'm going to be a grandma with twins
Are you really?
in a month.
Well, you're not
and a
old
half.
enough to be a grandma.
Amen, Carl.
That's
Amen.
crazy.
Yes. 2 months, March 27th.
Wow! Congratulations.
So when were your babies, thank you, when were your babies due and when did they come?
They were, that's a. They were full term, which is 38 weeks, or maybe it's 36 weeks for twins. I can't remember. I should know this. I have 2 sets of twins. I can't believe I don't know this, but they were full term, and they were born on March 19th.
Oh, well, maybe these babies will be
Yeah.
born on March 19th.
Yep, which
we'll
was
put you down for that date.
sure.
so we're having a contest to see who can guess the delivery date. Do you want to go with March 19th?
I will go with March 19th.
Okay.
When's the due date?
March 27th.
Oh wow, they'd have to be really full term. Yeah, I'll go with the March 19th. There's some symmetry to that, right?
Okay. I
Excellent.
like it.
Do you know if they're boy girl?
I do. Boy and a girl.
Oh, that's
Mary
awesome.
and John.
Oh, they already named them. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yep.
I love the names too.
Yeah, my mom was Mary, and then my husband is John.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good times.
Um,
Good times.
Carl, not to change the subject. This is
Please.
lots of fun talking about names and daughters and babies.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, when are you running for mayor?
Well, first of all, did you listen to the podcast from Steve Crandall?
I didn't, but he called me after he left here and told me about it.
He said that he wouldn't run against you.
Yeah.
Not at all. He said, "I will beat that dude. I will. He will be weighed, measured, and found wanting."
Yeah.
That's a direct quote from Steve Crandall.
Yeah, Steve would be great at any local politics. We need people like Steve. I didn't get involved in local politics because I wanted to be a politician. I got involved in local politics because I felt like there was a problem that needed to be solved, so I did. So I don't have any great designs to do much, but and I don't know that I'd run for mayor. I mean, first of all, I think Mayor Tomko's a fabulous mayor. I like Tom Brick, who's a mayor, neighbor of mine and a friend of mine, and I thought he was a good mayor at the time for this town, and I think Mayor Tomko's doing a great job.
You said that you joined the council because you were trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
What was the problem?
So this is a number of years ago. We just could not get a tax levy passed in this town, and we had it was a difference of opinion where most of council, save for 2 or 3 members, were telling everyone that revenue was dropping and we needed this tax increase because our revenue had dropped. And then there was another group of council members who were saying we need to control costs and we have plenty of revenue. And you guys don't live in Chagrin Falls, right? You live in the region. So you guys probably didn't get these flyers, but like when I first moved here, 3 or 4 times a flyer would be left in my mailbox, an anonymous flyer casting aspersions on this council member or what they're doing. And it was really sort of ugly. And so I watched this for a couple election cycles, both for elections for council and then elections for, having a tax levy on the ballot. And it failed both times. We had the police station levy that didn't go well. And so I was like, somebody's got to figure this out. Enough is enough. And so I ran, and coincidentally, Mayor Tomko, who I didn't know prior to running, ran, and he and I were sort of like-minded on how to address this. And so that was the problem that I wanted to solve. And we immediately got to the bottom of it. I mean, the state took away ultimately more than $1 million in revenue for a town that has the budget that we have. It's like, somewhere around 20% of our general fund. It just gone. The state took it away. So we really needed the
when was this?
The revenue. This would have been 2015, 2016, 2014, 2015, something like that. You know how time.
So is this your first term?
No, I'm in second term. Almost through
now.
My second term. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you ran in 2015.
Let's see. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah, that's right.
So it's a 2-year, 3-year term?
2-year term.
2-year term. Oh, yeah. Wow.
So you were there 1 year and then you became president.
No, I was there 0 years. I became president.
Oh, is it a short straw, or is it who rises someone up to the president position?
So the story that had happened was that when I ran for council, it was not a contested election. 7 people ran for 7 spots. And so I assumed that one of the more senior members on council was going to do the president's role, right? Because Steve Patton, who's a friend of mine, had been council president for 10 years or more, and Steve had rolled off. So I went to Jana Lutz, who's a neighbor and friend, and said, so you're going to be council president? She said, no, I want you to do that. She said, Jim Newell and I had talked, and we think you'll be really good. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess there's not much of a choice, so I did it.
Okay.
So it was good, yeah. So my first meeting, I got elected, sworn in, and
promoted.
Ran the meeting, and here we are.
Had you held any public office before that?
It was sort of not really. So I lived in Tremont for a brief period, and I was I was elected to the Tremont West Development Corporation board.
Which is almost like a homeowners association, but for businesses. Right?
Well, it's more than that. It's a community corporation that does. There's a housing group. It's very similar to the village of Chagrin Falls in terms of government structure. It's just different in terms of. Obviously the city of Cleveland. It's sort of an organization that controls development in Tremont neighborhood, right. But then the city of Cleveland handles broader issues like zoning variances and things like that. Right. But architectural features of Tremont was handled by Tremont West and various programming and things like that. But it wasn't nearly what the role on village council is.
So what I love about your story is that you took a situation that was filled with drama and acrimony, these flyers going around, saying nasty things about people, which is pretty much how national politics goes.
Now it's just Village Block, but they moved it on
another thing I'm
social
responsible
media.
for.
Yeah. But you ran for office and you were objective and unemotional and methodical, and you solved the problem. And now you're still on, and that's great because that's the kind of problem solving that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Unemotional, no drama, just get stuff done.
Well,
that's rare.
So it is rare, and no drama, right? So there's air quotes around no drama. What does that mean, right? So my thing in politics is I don't like politics. I like transparency. I like even proactive transparency. I like pushing information to people because it's not enough to just hold open meetings and assume people read agendas online. You have to give them, when you want feedback from residents, you have to push information at them and let them know what's going on. And so, and the other thing that I'm really rigid about is I want participation in council meetings. Council meetings, it should be a roundtable discussion where we put things in the middle of the table and we talk about them and people raise their issues and we compromise. And we have some good example. And it wasn't done that way. It was very much, prior to that, it was very much, we know we have the votes. We know we need to get this thing going. So let's just pass it and go home to our families or whatever. And I'm sort of using shorthand, but it's sort of, when you go to council meetings and witness this, it was very perfunctory and very, it just went through it. And we don't do it that way. We don't have short meetings. We have meetings that, probably could take a half an hour and they take an hour and 15 minutes because we talk about things. And that's, I think that's how government should take place.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest issues, for the both the citizens who live in the village and who work in the village? What are the things that we ought to know? We meaning we work here. We don't live here, Molly, but we work here, right? Mm-hmm. What are the things what are the hot issues right now that we ought to be aware of?
Oh God, what are the
now
hot
or
issues?
for the past 25, 30, 40 years?
Let's start with now.
Because they're all the same, right?
Same.
I mean, they're all the same.
Oh, is that right?
I mean, I would say this to you. I would say that we're in really good shape. Mayor Tomko is very much a nuts and bolts mayor, and he gets into the nitty gritty of things. And we have water pipes that are 100 years old. We have utilities that really need work. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there. It's just old. It's an old village. And this is the right mayor at the right time. I mean, we were behind probably 10 years on road projects. And so when we got the tax levy passed, he proposed that we take out some bonds and catch up and do, essentially 10 years of road projects in 1 year, 2 years, really. Things like that. I mean, our village employees are wonderful. That's been the biggest eye-opening thing for me is I didn't have a strong sense on how the village employees were, but before I got on council, what the village employees were paid and what their benefit structure was very much a political hot potato going back and forth between the members of council, as I described, and the other members of council, and these flyers, and can you believe this, and can you believe that? And thankfully, we've gotten that taken care of. I mean, our village employees are just unbelievably dedicated and do such great work. So Alex, I don't know how to answer your question, but I'll take Molly's point. It's parking, it's maintenance, it's development, it's everything that it usually is.
Let me ask the question differently, and maybe it has the exact same answer, but maybe not. What current issues are you dealing with at council that receive the most controversy?
Parking receives the most controversy. I'll tell you something that's hot right now is, first of all, we have this bridge that's going to be rebuilt.
By that paper company? That bridge?
No, not that bridge.
The
that one was
main
redone.
bridge.
Oh, this one right here. That's right. By the waterfall. That bridge?
That
the waterfall bridge?
Yep. The county owns it. And so they're going to rebuild it because it's old. So they're going to pay for the bridge. We have to pay for the wing walls, the walls that go upriver towards the park. And that'll start, I think, after Art in the Park. That'll start.
When's that?
June.
Excuse me. So June, mid-June. So they'll shut down. I don't know if they're going to shut down the two eastmost lanes first or west, but they're going to shut down. It's a 4-lane bridge. They'll shut down 2 lanes, maintain traffic both ways. Wow, all the parking will go away.
For how long is that going to take?
So they'll work from June until October in year 1 in 2019, and then in year 2 they'll flip over and do the other half in 2020. So it's going to be 2 years.
Here's the deal, folks. There's no need to run out and get your water and your bread. We're going to be fine. It's happening. It's a safety issue. It's going to make the village look amazing afterwards. Everyone will be open for business. We are embracing it, and that's that.
And it's not shutting the road down. It's just narrowing it for 2 summers, basically.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so essentially, we're going to lose some parking.
Right.
And the mayor and Jim Newell and Mike Corcoran, who run our parking commission, have done a really nice job finding additional parking spaces in advance of all this construction. So we've more than made up for the parking spaces that we're going to lose.
And just think the jaywalkers now will only have 2 lanes to run across.
Half the way to go. Jaywalking is another issue that I suppose has been around forever.
So you said parking's always been an issue, right? Is it an issue that has multiple sides to the debate, or is it just one side? We need more of it. Tough.
Well, we do need more of it. There's no doubt. It's a really good situation to be in, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we have parking issues and we have jaywalking issues. I mean,
which means that there's tons of people in the village.
Yeah, what small town wouldn't want to have those issues, right? I mean, that doesn't mean that you just throw up your arms and say there's no solution to it, but it does sort of frame, how things are. Parking is, it would be nice if we could build a parking garage. Here's the issue. And the mayor has looked into, because he's a nuts and bolts guy, he's looked into what's the economic model to build a parking garage and has been in contact with some of the landowners, and there's been some proposals back and forth. And one of the things that came out of these discussions, of which I was a part, is the demand for parking nationwide is dropping somewhat precipitously, with Uber and Lyft and just people using bicycles, and it's sort of a different thing.
Right.
One of the landowners here in town, who I won't mention by name, although he probably would sign up for this, but I didn't ask him, said that he did a development in Boston. His company did a development in Boston, and they thought they needed, say 100 parking spaces for whatever. There was a mixed use development. It was office and retail. Well, office, retail, and condos. And he said that say he needed 100 spots, that the lot generally has 55 cars in it. So his data show that it was something like 40% the demand for parking was 40% less than they thought they needed. So consequently, the last thing that I think the village wants to do is build a parking garage that's obsolete in 20 years, and then we have to support it in some way. So we're at a weird intersection, because we definitely have a parking shortage now, but are we going to in 5 years, 10 years? Who knows?
Yeah. I want to talk about architectural review for a second. Obviously, Chagrin Falls, for those who don't know, is a very historic town and a very historic looking town. You can walk down the street and remove the cars, and basically you've got what the city looked like about 100 years ago, still looking the same way it does now.
Minus me.
Right, without Molly in it, right?
Well, I mean, I was there. I just look a little different now.
Right.
Insert grandma joke here.
Right. We're really beating that horse to death today, Molly. Karl, so I know that it is sometimes a struggle between those that want to do everything they can to keep the place looking the same as it does because of the character and the quaintness of it all, if that's a word, and those that want to build something that might be more modern, either on the inside or the outside, right? Mm-hmm. As an insider to that struggle, what do you see? What's it look like? How contentious does it get? Is it still like a major, battle that happens?
It's a huge battle, yeah. And I have multiple perspectives on the battle. So I don't know which way to take this, but I'll start here. Not a week ago, we had a hearing at the council, held a special meeting to deal with a request to demolish a house up on Ridgewood. You guys familiar with Ridgewood? I know that's up your way, Molly. So Ridgewood is essentially the first street it's the first left after you pass the high school. So okay. It connects from Bell to East Washington Street. So on the west side of Ridgewood, a number of homes, and these are, people have torn down ranch houses or houses that were built in the 50s and built houses. And interestingly, I think they're nice looking houses, and I think the neighbors on the other side of the street, I don't think any of them opposed the building of the houses that are there, because to tear down a house in the village, you need, and your question, Alex, encompasses two concepts. One is tearing down a house and building a new house, and also one is adding on to an existing historical structure, right?
Right.
So it's a two-phase, there's two components to it. One is, can you tear down the house? Is it historic? And even if it is historic, does it meet certain dilapidation guidelines to where you can tear it down? And then two is, you need to get approval for the house that's going to replace it.
And is that all local ordinances, or is any of that state or higher?
Some of the whether a house is deemed historic is some of it is done at the state level, because some of our neighborhoods have historic designation through the state. But whether a house is historic is done at the local level. So under our code, anytime somebody wants to alter or demolish a house that's greater than 50 years old, we consult an expert on historic architecture. So anyway, the point is, when you apply for a permit to demolish a house, it goes to the Architectural Review Board in the first instance. They rule, and however they rule, if you appeal to that, it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I used to be on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm no longer, because I gave that seat up to somebody else on council this term. But in November, when this came up, I was on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Board of Zoning Appeals heard the request.
Who's requesting, the homeowner or the person who's doing the plans or the construction?
Well, the homeowner is the applicant, but they're usually represented by an architect or an attorney, depending. So anyway, then when the BZA rules, our code allows 3 members of council to petition to rehear the BZA ruling at the council level. And so for the first time in history, we did that. 3 council members voted to review the BZA determination. So we held a special council meeting. I think it was January 13th.
Was their determination to let it get torn down, or to allow the change, allow the application?
It was a tear down. The ARB denied the application to demolish because the ARB, one of the neighbors who's a real estate agent and did a wonderful job presenting, not to ARB. I'm sure she did ARB, but that's not my comment. I didn't hear her at ARB, but she presented evidence that house was designed. It was a Better Homes and Garden design, and it was a 5-star house, and it had been designed, you know how you used to be able to buy house plans and Sears homes, and we have some of those around here. But there was a lot of, she put on a showing that this house was historically significant, a historically significant property under our code. So the ARB denied the demolition request.
So overturn the BZA.
No. ARB did it in the first instance, and then they appealed to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals reversed the ARB.
I see.
And found that the house was not historically significant.
Letting them tear it down.
Letting them tear it down. And that vote was 3-2. And then 3 members of council, I was not one of the members of council to petition, but 3 members of council petitioned to hear it at the council level. And the council heard the same evidence and affirmed the ruling of the BZA. So now the homeowner can tear it down. And it was I have an interesting view of that case. At the BZA level, I voted against, and I'll just use the language, I voted against tearing the house down at the BZA level, because I felt that Wendy Davis, who's my friend and a neighbor up there, and the real estate agent, and I told her this, she should have gone to law school. She really made a nice presentation. And I thought that she showed that the house was historically significant under our code. When the decision came to council, the expert, the village's historic expert or expert on whether something is historically significant, redid her report to include all the information that had been presented to ARB and all the information that presented to BZA. And she concluded that even when you consider all that information, the house was not historically significant under our code. There are plenty of places in Ohio where that same evidence would have driven a conclusion that the house was historically significant, but it didn't meet the requirements under our code. So I actually changed my vote from BZA to ARB, from BZA to council, because at council, the village's own expert concluded that it wasn't historically significant under our code. So how can I disagree with that?
So is it a done deal at this point, or
it's a done deal?
There's nobody to take it to court.
So anyone who had spoken in opposition to demolition would have had standing to bring suit in the common pleas.
Okay.
But the folks that did decided not to.
And in the past, I mean, that is the next step, right? You would, if you disagreed with the council or the Board of Zoning Appeals, you would take it to court.
That's right.
And that happened.
Oh yeah,
That's happened.
many times. Not on my terms, but it has.
So Steve Crandall, soon to be council member Steve Crandall, I think.
I hope so.
I do too. When he was here, he was saying how a better rule would be to designate in advance which houses are historically significant, so that buyers could say, I know that I'm buying a house that I can demolish, right? Hopefully I'm not mischaracterizing.
Yeah, so that they don't get into the purchase and then realize they can't do what they dreamed to do to their house. They would know ahead of time, this is a house and it's not getting torn down. You're buying it.
In order to give the buyer certainty, right? Is that workable or...
Well, sure, in a universe of unlimited resources, right? But who's going to pay for that? I mean, right, and why would? And I don't know that you want to. So whether something is historically significant is somewhat of a moving target sometimes. I mean, there are some houses in the village that you just look at and you go, that's never going to be torn down. But then, if you sort of know that, then what's the purpose of going through the exercise? But this historical significance stuff is not an insignificant amount of money to do these studies and dig into this on each house. And so I don't disagree with the disconnect here is, I don't think people do their due diligence before they enter into real estate contracts. I mean, you come, as you said at the open of this line of questioning, Alex, you come into Chagrin Falls, you sort of know what you're in for. You go into Hudson, you know what you're in for. Mm-hmm. You go into Twinsburg, you don't get the same vibe. So, but you buy a house. Hey, I bought a house in Chagrin Falls. It was built in 1904. It had been a rental for 35 years. I probably could have torn it down easily. I mean, the foundation was in terrible shape. There's cracks in the floorboards. The wind blew through it. There were birds in the house. I mean, it was a disaster. Actually, it never occurred to me because I've always lived in historical homes and I redo homes sort of the way I like.
But you knew that you were going into a place that the expectation would be that you would have an uphill battle to tear something down.
Well, it wasn't. I didn't even reach that level of analysis of it because I knew I was going into Chagrin Falls and I didn't. I liked it was an upright and wing, which is a style of architecture. I liked that style. It never occurred to me to want to tear it down. But to your point. So my house was 1,300. Our house was 1,300 square feet when we bought it. It had two bedrooms and one bathroom. The bathroom was on the first floor. It was really not livable. It's now 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and it looks the same from the street. If you didn't know that the house had been added onto, you wouldn't know. And so the reason is that the village put out this guideline on historic architecture, and they showed you how to add on to an upright and wing. So it's pretty easy. It's like, pop this thing on there, push it out the back.
And what's important to them in that case is that it looks the same from the outside, from the street.
Yeah, and there's that, and then and there's ways to add on to houses to both. And I'm not going to say it didn't retain all the historic charm necessarily because obviously it's a bigger house and there's certain things about it, but it looks like it fits in the neighborhood.
Karl, your term is up, so it's a 2-year term, so 2020. Yes.
Yeah, I have a year left to my term, but we have to decide by like July or August.
And can you run again? Is there no limit?
Oh, there's no limit.
Any urge to run for some other public office?
I thought about running for Congress, and I ultimately decided not to, just because I've got young kids and there's a lot of things going on, but I probably should have, and I'm a little disappointed that I didn't. No, last term I just felt like there was a lot of. I feel like my voice. I feel like my voice could be heard at any time nationally. We're in a terrible place nationally, and we are so polarized, and we need somebody that can speak to everyone. And I just don't think. I think everyone is too party centric, and we need somebody that can sort of get us back to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Like 60s. I mean, look, we weren't a perfect country, but at least there was compromise. And at least people were talking to people in the other side of the aisle. And we're just not there.
Why don't you run in the next congressional election?
I may. I mean, it just depends where I am personally. I mean,
Yeah.
I have kids and, there'll be a time when the seas will probably part and it'll be a little more logical.
Yeah.
But you never know.
So,
if Crandall gets on council, then maybe I'll have some more, bandwidth to go do something else.
Yeah. So here's what I was going to run past Carl when we were bannering earlier, right? And you, Molly, too. This affects you too, Molly.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So,
Alex.
since I know both of you guys listen to all of our episodes, and you definitely listened to the last one that you weren't here for, when it was it was Mark, George, and Justin. I forgot Justin's last name. The Bainbridge Civic Club guys.
President.
So, have you guys ever been to Siena, Italy?
No.
All right.
Should you really ask me that question?
Oh, that's right. You don't fly. You don't fly.
You don't fly?
All right.
I don't fly.
So
So obviously Carl doesn't listen to our podcasts.
that's okay.
I did listen to Jim Looney's.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was
He's
good.
the man.
That's a really good friend.
That might have been one of our more popular ones. That got a lot of
Yeah.
reposts. Anyway, Siena, Italy is a city with 18 neighborhoods in it. And for 1,000+ years, they have had
Was this the horse race thing?
the paleo, the horse race. All 18 neighborhoods or 17 neighborhoods compete against each other in this giant horse race. And they have their own emblems and songs. And
Sounds like South Russell back in the day. Growing up, they used to have their own swim teams.
Oh, yeah.
And they would swim in all the ponds
So
or in
what
the
I'm
lakes.
saying, here's what I'm saying, right? We go Bainbridge versus Chagrin Falls Village in an Olympic-style series of
first
competitions.
Of all, it'd have to be Chagrin Falls School District versus Bainbridge School
Doesn't matter.
District.
I don't really
Because
care.
you don't have enough
I
people
think-
to compete Chagrin versus Bainbridge.
Well, I think
Do you mean like a decathlon?
kind of like maybe like 5 events, right? Or whatever.
What is the chamber doing? We'll bring in all 13 communities.
Yeah, who's going to insure this thing?
Well,
Who's
let's-
underwriting it?
Says the
Putting the
lawyer.
cart- putting the cart behind-
Such a
Listen,
downer.
we need to have head-to-head competition where it's the best of Chagrin Falls Village and the best of
Well, then
Bainbridge
you have it in the
Township.
communities because they have their own insurance for their communities.
Yeah, you know what I would love to see I love this concept and I love where you're going with this. And here's where I think this works. The Blossom Parade could if we took this concept that you're talking about, Alex, and made neighborhoods, communities have float building contests. And we could take
And they did that.
Blossom Parade and turn it into a really cool
Back to the fluffies.
Yeah,
and
we're
the-
sort of away from it's,
Yes,
I mean, it
I
is what it
agree.
is, right? But it's
I would start there.
yeah.
I would start
You're
with
looking
float.
for a broader concept.
I want the best of the best athletes from each neighborhood competing, and
Isn't
everybody
that called
shows
the
up.
football team,
No. But events that aren't usually.
like the three-legged races
Like,
and the
yeah, let's
pie
think about
eating
this.
contest. Because
Maybe.
I could do that.
I was thinking like arm wrestling would be one for
I
sure.
like it. I like
And
it. Well, see, you need to work with the JCs because they could
Yeah.
incorporate some fun little things like you're saying into
but
Blossom Time.
like one sprint would be in there, like a foot race ought to be in
Well,
there.
they have one. It's like 5.5 miles.
yeah, it's
now.
5K.
Yeah, but it
Or
should
you can
be,
walk it.
It should be like one dude against one dude running down Main Street. You know
That's
what I mean?
really funny.
Something like
Yeah.
that. I'm telling you, this would be huge. And it would and you get sponsorship, maybe, I don't know, but whatever. You could really build this, and it would get really competitive. Be lots of smack talking. It'd be great.
Okay.
Think about it.
I'm in.
It.
I like the float thing.
No,
do like the
well, and
float
I think
thing.
you can. It could be together. We do both.
This
And the
Dom is
Jace-
great, by the way.
It is very good. They used
stuff.
to do the float
Yeah.
thing. The JCs would actually pay for a portion of communities' floats, just to encourage them to do the floats.
Yeah, there was talk about it. So Angie DiBernardo and Aaron Grube and Nancy Rogoff and I have had these discussions, and those are 3 of my friends and fellow council members, and we were talking about how can we incentivize this type of thing, and we started off by doing a little trash talking on Village Block Club among neighborhoods, but it just
Didn't
people
take
got
off.
busy and it didn't really get anywhere. No.
All right. We'll keep
We'll
talking.
keep it going.
We'll
We'll
keep it
keep it going because I have the float that I've wanted to do for the past 4 years, and we do a float, and we do get very excited about it. I think last year we did the first responders floats, and we go old school. But I mean, we'd have to start making those fluffies now. I mean, I remember Wycliffe Parade, which is still going and still is like you're talking about, where they make the tissue paper flowers, and maybe we do that. Maybe it's everything pumpkin, like the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
You have to have everything on your float has to be made out of a pumpkin. Although May would be a little difficult, but
you guys are fans of that Village Block Club, huh? You love it.
I love it for what it should and be what it's supposed to do, which is promote the village and discuss things in the village. I don't like shit stirrers.
Those who stir
you know
shit,
me
you're
and my
saying?
face. I mean, I'm a whore when it comes to Facebook, social media. I love it. But you won't find anything negative from me because it's just not the platform. It's not, in my opinion, it's not. And there's people and they know who they are. They're just the shit stirrers. And
Stirring
whatever
shit.
comment they're making, they're doing it to stir shit. And I just don't have time for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it happens, right? But I'm obviously I have my own view, I have a slanted view of it because I started it and I thought it was a good idea then, and I think it's a good idea
It's a
now.
great idea.
And I think it's a fabulous resource for the community. I was telling somebody just the other day, when my power goes out, the first place I look is Village Block Club.
When sirens go by, we're like,
I know.
well, you know where we have to go right now to get our
People
news.
say, well, how do you're on council, you should know. I'm like, I don't know. I go to Village Block Club. Somebody knows the information, but it's great. But I mean, Molly's point's a good one, right? So they're every once in a while, and we haven't had one in a while, but that pretty much means we're due. We'll have a flare up for some hot button issue, and sometimes it's not even an issue that you think is a hot button issue. It just becomes that way.
I mean, just the subject will be parking with like two big eyes, or pumpkin roll with two big eyes.
roll.
I mean, it's like, come on. We start the fight with the pumpkin roll. Village Block starts its own fight with themselves.
Well, I thought
about
we did
the
a good
pumpkin
job this
roll.
year, and by we, I mean I, of saying, okay, I posted that. Are you in the Village Block Club?
I am, but I don't really.
Are you in the Village Block Club?
Yeah, you invited me,
Okay.
So
but I don't really read it very much.
Yeah, so I put out a post this year that was just one run-on paragraph. It was like maybe 15 lines, and it just was like a run-on sentence with every argument for or against the pumpkin roll. Blah, 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 new people ruin everything,
Right.
blah, blah,
Which
blah,
started-
stealing, blah,
starts
blah,
it.
blah. And then I was like, okay, now it's all out there. Can we agree not to argue about it?
I love
And
it.
so everyone
That's
was sort of
great.
like, okay, we get it. But then even still in
Yeah.
that thread, people are like, ah.
Yeah.
But and that's one of the complaints I get, right? Because my ex-wife lives in Solon. My 3 older kids go to Solon, so I'm pretty well connected to the Solon community as well. And that's one of the comments I get every fall.
Steal from your own people.
Which, I mean, I can see that, right?
Yeah, I do.
But
Here's the thing. My thinking about this has evolved from having a strong position about it to like just resignation, right? Which is that before social media, there was gossip.
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody gossiped, and not everybody, but there were always people who just talked smack.
And there was a shit stirrers at the PTA meetings.
Yeah, who loved doing it anonymous, like just to their friends.
Oh, you and I are in this. You're going in the right. You're going in the same
here's
direction.
the thing about it, right? What happened with social media was that that same sewing circle, right, of people who would only say things, whispering to their girlfriends because they didn't think that they would ever get busted or called out on it.
Or boyfriends. I mean,
Doesn't
you're
matter.
kind of making it sound like the
now
girls
what
only
they
do
did
it.
was they amplified their voice, but did it, and it's still. And I'm going to say, a little cowardly is a little too judgmental, but
I think that's a great word.
They say things online that they wouldn't have the courage to say to someone's face, right? And they're able to do it because there's so much distance between a keyboard and somebody else across town.
So, for instance, the Pumpkin Roll documentary.
Yeah.
So we went to the people who were on social media bitching and complaining, and I said, "Hey,
Oh, and they wouldn't
here
come. They
you
wouldn't
go.
poke up. They wouldn't poke their head
No,
out.
here's
Isn't
your
that weird, though?
platform." And they didn't want to be. They didn't want to be videoed.
Oh, see, that's crazy.
I'm like, but I'm looking at you obviously
Right.
have some position on it. I'm looking at your post.
So that's the thing, right? So long as there's one other person to say right on, right? People still feel like it's okay to hurt other people's feelings.
Well, but the beauty of, so here's the beauty of social media, in my view, and I thought this is where you're going. Maybe it's still where you're going, but people will do it used to be in the sewing circle or the football locker room or whatever it is. It was this anonymity
Carl.
thing to it, right? Well, I was in the football locker room, so but
I like to sew. What can I say?
I'm more crochet. It's just sewing. The thread is well. Anyway, my point is that there used to be anonymity attached to it. Now, if you want to be the shit stirrer on Facebook, then that's your trademark. And every time I see your name up there, I sort of know it's attached to it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. If that's your trademark, then that's your trademark. And we have this debate sometimes in Village Block Club where, there's a few friends that help me admin the page, and I'm very hands off. I don't delete comments. I don't delete anything. And people will say, we got to get that off of there. And I say, if it's not a personal attack,
I believe it was my husband that got into one of those.
Well, I don't know who it was, but I mean, the point is, if it's not a personal attack, unless you're attacking someone personally, then it's got to go. But if it's not a personal attack and you're going to say that, then you live with it.
Right.
Well, and
you're going to see that person at the grocery store.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah. But this is where I landed on resignation, right? I'm just now resigned to the fact that there are people who would more than happily insult somebody in a cruel way sometimes online, but not have the courage to say something to their face. And those are the same people who had the exact same propensity for doing it before there was social media.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
For
So let them do it. They're going to
issue.
do it, and there's really nothing anyone can do about it.
Again, if you or I can stand in the mirror at the end of the day, which I do, and check myself.
Yeah.
I have no problem checking because you use it in the proper form that it's used for, which was communication. I mean, that's what, and whenever Mark Zuckerberg is going through all his stuff now, but that's really what his intention was to connect people. And I can look back at the people that I have found or connected with from my past, or people that I have been in contact with since Facebook, and it is a great tool.
Oh, I love it. I love every bit of it.
I do.
And there are terrible things about it, and it's a time sink. And one of my, and I'm better at managing it as a time sink. But not the other day, like in the middle of the summer, I was in Seattle. I haven't been to Seattle in a long time. I was there for a conference. There's a kid that I went to. He lived in my little town of Wisconsin, and we went to school together. He was a year ahead of me. From junior kindergarten until, 10th grade, right? And I haven't seen him forever, but we're friends on Facebook. And he lives in Seattle. And so I looked him up. Hey, I'm in Seattle. We had breakfast. We had a great time. And I posted on Facebook. But for Facebook, there's no way.
Right.
I would be having breakfast with David Ward today, right?
Plus, didn't you feel like you didn't have to spend your first hour catching up?
I agree
you
with
almost
that.
went.
Yes.
That's how reunions are now.
Totally agree with you.
Love to know. I would love to do surveys on reunions now because there's no chit chat.
I
You
totally
go
agree.
right into it. It is like being right back.
But that
again,
goes for everybody, Molly. When you run into somebody at Heartwood Coffee, you go right into how was Costa Rica?
Exactly.
Right.
Every interaction is
I love
improved
it.
on some
Love
level.
it.
But there are downsides, right?
Sure.
I mean,
For sure.
And it's among the downsides. When I do swing a little bit more to feel strongly about it, are the fact that I feel bad for people who are trying to make a difference. Like I think about Nancy Santilli, right, at Kenston, who she's got one of the hardest jobs in the world, and she has to deal with like this peanut gallery of parents that have nothing but negative things to say and like conspiracy theories about Kenston School District, right?
Right.
And the problem is that seeps into the consciousness of the students, of their kids, right? This conspiracy that's been going on about the roof or something like that.
Right.
But then I swing back to resignation because that is, you don't need social media for that.
Right. They're
Right?
tweeting
There's going to be that same group of parents who are just always negative and who are going to, complain and bitch and moan, and their kids are going to be in the room and they're going to go talk about it.
But at least it's out in the open on some level.
Right.
Like
Well, you're right.
I'm
You're right.
fine with it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to say it and you're going to hit enter,
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're
you're going to hit post.
So there's some other things we should talk to Karl about. I mean, his whole life is not counsel.
Well, I think that's a great segue, Molly.
Thank you.
I want to talk about two things in particular. One,
Shall we take a break?
Should we? All right. Let's take a quick break. Hey, folks. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I hope you've been enjoying it. I wanted to take a minute to tell you about Cover My Six. For my fellow veterans out there, and for those of you in law enforcement, you already know what Cover My Six means. And for the rest of you out there, it means cover my butt. And that's what we do for our clients. I've been litigating business cases for many years, and here's what I've learned about them. First, they're not fun for my clients. Even when lawyers knock it out of the park for them, business owners and professionals in litigation find it stressful, distracting, time-consuming, and expensive. Second, I believe almost all business lawsuits and investigations are totally preventable. Third, almost every business lawsuit and investigation has focused on some combination of 6 key relationships: those with customers, vendors, employees, shareholders, insurance companies, and technology. Knowing these 3 things, we created Cover My Six to optimize those 6 areas for businesses of all sizes. We create and facilitate the company's key documents, and we optimize their policies and practices in those 6 areas so that their owners and employees can focus their time and attention and money where they should, on making and selling their products and growing their business, not on lawyers and courtrooms and lawsuits. So go to covermysix.com to learn more about this service. I'm really proud of it, and there's nothing else out there that's like it. Our clients love it too. They get security and peace of mind from it, and I know you will too. Go to covermysix.com to learn more. All right, kids, we're back.
Thank God it wasn't taping so that we didn't talk about Alex.
Yeah.
That's a great commercial. I'm
Thank
gonna
you. You like
look
it?
into that. Cover My Six.
Cover My Six. That's where it's at. Carl, I understand that your way better half does work with the Legal Aid Society. True or false?
It's true.
That's one of the greatest organizations.
Really is.
Anywhere.
Yep.
I think they've been around for like 100 years in Cleveland, right?
I don't know the answer, but it's been a long time.
So she's an attorney.
She is.
And then does she do this as a pro bono type? You go and help out, or does she work for Legal Aid?
Well, pro bono in the sense that she gets paid. Like if she were at the Gertzberg law firm, she'd probably triple her income. But so
Stop
she does not.
Yeah,
she does
don't
not.
spread that
No,
rumor.
she's an employee. She runs the
Okay.
housing unit, so she's what's called a managing attorney. So she's she loves it. Does really well.
She's been there a while.
Special person.
She's been there since. Gosh, I should know this. 06 or 07, maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's she's doing God's work there, Molly. I mean, that's an organization that has helped. I mean, I send people there who can't afford us all the time.
Can we just stop for a minute? Just the fact that you said God's work makes my heart just grow 3 times more than it is, Alex.
Why, because he's a lawyer and he said that?
No, because he's an atheist. I feel as if I've done great work with you.
Yeah.
And I said Heartwood a bunch of times in this episode, too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My heart is so warm right now. Thank you.
You're welcome, Molly.
You know what?
Merry
Argentina has done great things to you. It made you find
Very
your
religious
soul.
there.
When I left law school, I told my dad I was going to work for the public defender, and he said,
Is that here in town?
"Yeah, in Cleveland."
You know
right?
Colin Sweeney?
No, I don't know.
Okay. He works
Obviously-
oh,
he
I'm
said-
sorry. He's with the federal public defender.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and he said, if you do that, you will be in debt for the rest of your life. And by the way, I want you to pay me back some of the money you owe me.
Papa G.
So I said, all right, well then I'm going to go work for the Legal Aid Society. And he said, same answer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't that negative, right? He very much appreciated, where I was coming from and wanting to do good.
Yeah.
But I do know that people don't go to work for the Legal Aid Society for the money,
Right.
right?
No, they don't. And it's Abby's, that's just sort of how she is. So she's from Chicago. Her family actually has a long relationship with Legal Aid Society. Her father moved out to Phoenix or maybe it was Tucson, and was the managing director of the Legal Aid Society out in Tucson. And then he's a law school professor at Chicago Kent, or was. He's retired within the year, but very focused on public interest law, very focused on technology and getting people who can't afford an attorney the right forms to do what they need to do pro se. And so that's sort of her upbringing. And then she went to Santa Clara, which is a Jesuit college, and very focused on public interest. And then she was in the Peace Corps in Africa for a number of years, and then came back, went to Seattle, worked at a women's shelter out there, and then ultimately decided, I think she was at the women's shelter, and she would see how attorneys would come in and solve a problem for a client and then move on to the next client. And that's when Abby decided that going to law school was probably something that she wanted to explore. So she moved back to Chicago and went to Chicago Kent. And then when she came she worked at Cabrini Green Legal Aid in Chicago as a law student, but neither they nor the Chicago Legal Aid were hiring when she came out. So she looked around, and her father had a contact in Cleveland, so she came out here, and lo and behold, the funny part of the story, sort of off topic, is I was working for a law firm at the time, and we were set up on a blind date, which was interesting because we're not I was at a large firm. I wore suits. I did big firm type stuff. And Abby
You were
was
at the largest firm in the world.
Second largest firm in the world, but it's a big firm, yeah. And so one of our friends, but unless you know me, you don't know. Yeah. I'm a kid from Wisconsin. I was just doing that for a job. Set us up on a date, and we hit it off immediately. And so we went back to our friend and said, "How did you know that we would like? There's no way that it would suggest that a Jones Day lawyer and a legal aid lawyer would even get along. Like, how did you know?" And he goes, "Oh, you're the only two lawyers I know." But anyway, so she was planning to move back to Chicago after 3 years. And so she actually signed a 6-month lease. Her last lease was 6 months, so she could move back to Chicago. And with 3 months left in her lease, that's when we went on our date. And now she's sort of stuck here, and so here we are.
Look at that.
But I'm telling you, her career she's doing unbelievable things down there. And she's in a position now where she manages the entire housing unit. And they're very focused on, she does more policy things. She meets with groups, and she was on the bedbug task force, and she's on fair housing, and she's working with, they're dealing with the city of Cleveland and lead issues. And now they've got this really interesting right to counsel project where they want the city to fund lawyers for tenants who are being evicted in the same way that you would get a lawyer if you're in a criminal case, because you're dealing with a deprivation of liberty. Right. So the theory is that it's no less a deprivation of liberty when you're being evicted. Right. And it's getting a lot of traction, and it's worked in a couple. New York City, Manhattan did it, and it's really changed the dynamic there.
That makes sense.
It's amazing.
You know what I'm thinking, Alex?
What?
Podcast guest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she'd be great, you guys. She'd
Abby,
be phenomenal.
call us.
Abby, we want you.
I don't know if she'd do it, but you should try.
Yeah. Well,
we know people.
Yeah. I really, really appreciate people who do work like that, or who just give up any amount of pro bono time as lawyers, because access to justice is a real problem. Well, you do that for me all the times I call you. I do. Well, and we do it around here. And I remember when I was at Calfee, we had days that we would partner with Legal Aid and go to Clifton, or I don't know, the Huff neighborhood or something like that. Sure. And just set up shop in a church. And man, it is so, just as a business, I was a business litigator. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to help these people. But you have such superior knowledge to them just by being a lawyer. By understanding
and the
system.
stuff they have is law school stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's basic fairness stuff where they come in and they bought this refrigerator and it doesn't work, and you're like, no, you go back to them and here's what you say, and you can solve their problem, and
it makes such a difference in their lives. Yeah. That's a paycheck to them. Sure. So anyway, good for you, Abby.
You need to set that up with the Gertzberg Law Firm.
Okay. Well, not with Legal Aid. Although, Abby, let's talk.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. We definitely have a number of pro bono cases, just for that reason. We got to move on to the lightning round, or we're never going to do it. All right, Molly.
Yes.
Do it. Do your thing.
Okay. So, Carl, what have you been binging lately?
Well, Dom right now.
I mean, TV-wise.
Oh, TV-wise? Oh, that's a good question. I'm not a huge TV. You know what? Abby and I are watching the Jack Ryan series.
Do you like that?
You know, it's interesting. You get hooked.
And what's the name of that?
It's Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan books that have been converted to a show.
It's the dude from The Office.
Yeah, and it's tough because, and Abby said this like in the second episode,
he's
Jim.
Right.
Jim.
Like he does something, you're like, that's a total Jim thing, and you're like, wait a minute, this is not Jim anymore.
Right.
It takes a minute to get him into the Jack Ryan thing, but it's pretty good. I think we're on like episode 7 or
What are you binging right now, Molly?
You know, I just finished that Mrs. Maisel, and if you're not watching it, you should. It's
My dad
great.
loves it.
Oh, it just makes you happy. And I love that Mad Men 1940s, you know, where the woman stayed home and made the dinner type of feel.
Interesting.
And I love that she's, you know, going against that.
Okay.
What are you binging?
On Netflix, the Conan O'Brien, he travels all over the world and just acts funny in different countries. It's outstanding. I just watched the Cuba one and the Korea one, and we're about to watch the Mexico one.
Well, at least I can
they're hilarious.
pretend
My
like
kids
I traveled.
my kids are binging The Office. I'm sorry. That's not that. They binge The Office, but they're through that. It's those two, Seinfeld, and what was the one that came after Seinfeld? Friends.
Interesting.
So they're binging these shows, and they're all of a sudden getting all my jokes.
Right. You know what? I'm also
funny.
binging Brady Bunch.
Oh yeah.
And I will
doesn't
tell
surprise me
you,
at all.
love. But it's so weird because we didn't watch it as much as we watched Friends because there weren't the repetitive episodes constantly. Yeah. And as soon as it starts, I know exactly what's going to happen.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
The perfect day. What's your perfect day?
Wow. My perfect day. I don't know. Get up early, get coffee, take a walk. Take a hike, take a run, take a bike ride, do something with my kids, my wife, in nature.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's a good day.
That's a good day.
I like it.
The song you never want to hear again.
Oh, God. Hotel California by the Eagles.
What? That's blasphemous.
Oh, actually,
Are you guys gonna fight
I
right
had
now?
worse than that. The American
Pie?
Yeah. God, I hate that song.
Oh, my God.
What is that thing called again?
It's American Pie. It's
Don McLean.
Don McLean.
Yeah.
God, I mean, Hotel California was fine the first 70,000 times I heard it, but 70,001 was too
turn
many.
the station. There's
No, the
800
thing
other
is-
stations to listen
I
to.
like listening to like the Mexican version of it. There's this mariachi. Yeah, there's like this mariachi
That's
version.
pretty
It's
funny.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
might re-fall in love with it. And then my last question, if you weren't a patent attorney, what would you be?
I would be a high school math teacher.
Oh, that's a go-to, I think.
A lot of people go with teacher.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was a high school math teacher, and it was my dream job to be a math teacher and a basketball coach.
Oh, my dad was a basketball coach.
Yeah, I got away from
And
that.
an AD, athletic director at Menor High School.
Wow, go Cardinals.
Carl, you're on a desert island. You're shipwrecked for a minimum of 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Could be the rest of your life. You don't know.
Yeah.
Could be 3 months. This is going to be a two-parter, Molly, because
All
I
right.
know something about Carl's musical taste.
I was going to say, you might as well
Carl.
cut the other one off. Although maybe he's not going to say it.
Carl, you may bring with you two things.
Oh, the Grateful Dead.
Hang on
Oh,
a sec.
see?
You
That's
already
not who you
answered.
thought he was going to say.
Well,
Okay, Fish. I don't care.
no.
Oh.
The question was going to be, you're going to have to listen to it for the rest of the time that you're there, but you get to bring their entire discography.
Oh, yeah.
Whose it is? You went with the Dead.
Sure.
The second part of that question is, you may bring with you one live Fish concert. Which show is it?
Oh, God. Can't even do that to me. Probably, this will be an outlier. So 10/25/95, Lincoln, Nebraska is a really good show.
Wow, that's you don't.
Yeah.
Very
there's-
specific.
Well, or I would do the Grateful Dead. So March 29th, 1990, 28th, 1990.
The Soldier Field.
No. It was Nassau Coliseum.
Okay.
Branford Marsalis played with the Grateful Dead.
Wow.
And you would have thought that they practiced in the studio for 2 weeks before they came out because they were
interesting.
it was the single best piece of live music I've ever heard, but they had never even met.
And what do you think about John Mayer being with them now?
I'm not.
Have you seen it though?
Yeah, go see it.
I saw the Dead in Columbus, and I thought John Mayer was amazing.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? So John Mayer discovered, using air quotes, the Grateful Dead in 2012 on Spotify. So in my view, he doesn't really deserve
and it's
to be in the Grateful Dead, but he's, but I like to joke, maybe they'll open up with Running Through the Halls of My High School or whatever the stuff he sings. But having said that, okay, I'll meet you halfway. When I go to the show, John Mayer is a very talented musician. He does a nice job with them. They play so slowly that I can barely take it, and it's just not my
that was a
favorite
different
thing.
show than the one I saw.
I didn't see the Columbus. Oh, I did see the Columbus show. It was where was that? I went with my brother
I can't
Pete.
remember.
Yeah, Pete. My brother lives in Indianapolis, and we met there and went because I've seen a ton of Dead shows.
It was in an arena.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And your next question.
Yeah. Same shipwreck, same amount of time, unknown, more than 3 months. You don't know. You may bring with you any single author's entire bibliography.
Oh, geez. That's a hard one. Scott Lax.
Oh, local.
Just kidding. That is local.
Local writer.
Scott's got a couple novels that are pretty good. If you haven't read them,
No, I never.
they're
He was the guy that was doing that seminar I wanted you to go to with Fireside, where you write your own book.
yeah.
Remember, I sent that to you.
He's great, and his books are if they're not explicitly set in Chagrin Falls, when I read them, I think about Chagrin Falls.
Yeah.
Like there's his opening scene in I think it's The Year That Trembled. I can't remember which opening scene it is. When I read that, it's at Madru Farm. Like that's what he's describing, and it's a really interesting way to read a book because it's not like he doesn't use the words, but you're like, wait a minute, that has to be here. So I'm not a huge. I'm a junkie for self-help books, so. I read like Malcolm Gladwell stuff and all kinds of goofy stuff. So it would be hard for me to say one author.
Well, Scott Lax is a great.
Okay.
That's a great comment.
It's interesting because
but he only has 2 or 3 books, I think.
So last month I spent a month in Argentina and I read Stephen King's On Writing, which is a memoir, and he described how every book that he wrote, and he's written like 40 of them now. They don't all explicitly take place in the town in Maine that he grew up in, but the scenes from there, he's just describing things that he saw.
Like Cabot Cove?
Yeah, John Grisham does the same thing.
Sure, Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, and I think most authors do that.
I think so too. Yeah.
What is the habit or routine that you have that you've gotten that you do on a consistent or daily basis that you've gotten the most mileage from?
Most mileage from. Probably I get up. I try to go to bed early, and I get up at like 4:00 in the morning. And I take a walk from my house over on Church Street, and I walk right up here. Actually, I walk to Lemon Falls, cross the street, walk back, and just sort of walk through the neighborhoods.
Is there anyone up?
Yeah, it's a regular group of people. I see Mike Mike Corcoran. He lives on West Washington. I see him.
Is he an attorney?
No, he's a businessman.
Okay. Not the Corcoran.
Yeah, there's a group. He's the only one I know. That Mike that lives over here on High Court. I see him. There's maybe 10 people.
Do you guys walk? Do you walk together at 4?
No.
Oh.
You just
pass them.
But people are friendly at 4:00 in the morning.
Right.
Like,
Let me give you a little bit of advice. If you see me, it's the end of the world. So get back to your house.
You're heading home. You're not heading out.
It's
You're
just
heading
the end
home.
of the world. Yeah, probably.
It's the seventh sign of the apocalypse.
End of the world. Yeah.
You guys, I got to tell you though, I try to do that wherever I am in the world because I travel some, and it's the best thing ever. It just gives you a different view of humanity because people are nice.
Yeah.
And it clears your head, and it's just a great time to be outside.
That's actually not 4, but like 5, 6 is my favorite time of the day.
Yeah.
I go into those hours feeling so positive and optimistic. I feel like it's just a world of opportunity in front of me. I love it. I love that time of the day.
Isn't that great? It just sort of sets you on a path for the day because you can choose you can chart your own course at that time of the day. There's nothing. It's not like you get up. I mean, sometimes my kids get up and they're doing what they're doing, but generally you choose your own path and do what you're going to do.
Well, the big takeaway there, I would say, Molly, I don't know if you do anything like this, but I really encourage people to take time for themselves first thing in the morning rather than go right into emails or right into work or whatever, and really get mindful and get centered on how great that moment that you have to yourself is. You know?
Every moment's a great
Well, that's
moment
true.
for me. So
Carl, what is...
This isn't much of lightning. Lightning, I thought we were going to be like...
well, that's the joke.
Yeah.
That's the funny
There's
part.
nothing quick about
This is like
lightning round.
Family Feud where I'm going to get a...
Nope. Although I did go way faster than Alex.
Well, I know. 2 more. The Christie. We have to ask the Christie. The Christie is named after Christy George. We have a question named after her. If you could interview any person that was ever alive who is currently living or dead, and you could interview them today, who would that be?
Oh, Martin Luther King. Easy.
Ooh, on MLK Day.
Slam dunk. I mean...
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he did so much for the history of this country, and he's no longer with us. I can't even imagine what he would have done had he lived.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, yeah.
I would love to hear what his plan was, what his vision was. I don't know where. It would be interesting to hear what he thinks of where we are.
Yeah,
I think he'd be a little disappointed.
I think so.
I would
too.
assume so. I don't know how he couldn't.
Final lightning round question, Carl. You ready?
I am.
What is an embarrassing thing about yourself that either no one or that very few people know, or for extra bonus points, that no one knows?
That no one knows. I'm not sure that exists because I'm pretty open about the goofy stuff about me. I would say the most embarrassing thing is, and my daughter Allie knows this, and she discovered it. Was discovered about a year ago because she's my daughter that plays soccer, and we travel for soccer. So she plays for this club, and we were driving to North Carolina, which is like a 9-hour drive, maybe it's longer. And my phone was hooked up to my car, and so we just started going through my playlist, which it's all the stuff you'd expect on there, like Fish, Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, you know, Green Sky Bluegrass, all the normal stuff. Well, normal for me. But then there's this undertone of bad 80s music, like Debbie Gibson,
Nice.
Tiffany, Culture Club.
Nice.
And so there's a playlist that I have that's just where I throw all the bad 80s music. And it came on, and she was just like, what is this even about? So I think that's probably the most embarrassing thing that very few people know. It's not even like good, like The Cure, like bad 80s music, The Cure, the Smiths. I mean, those are good. Those are like good 80s music. This is in a totally
Debbie
different
Gibson,
direction.
Selena, that probably put you.
I didn't say Selena. You said that.
Is Duran Duran in there?
Duran Duran's in the good
That's
pile.
in a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
For
look, I
sure.
can pull this up because it's let me see what it is. It's called the Lucky Lady Saloon. Lucky Lady, which is the bar I worked at.
Is the name of the playlist?
Well, it's a bar I worked at in college, right? So
That is.
that's where I learned some of these bad bands.
Yeah.
Move This by Tektronic. Come Go With Me by Expose.
Mm-hmm.
This is bad. Heart and Soul by T-Paw.
Yep.
Swing Out Sister, Breakout. The Sign, Ace of Base. You guys probably know that one. Animotion, Kaja Gugu, Andrea True Connection, Bananarama.
What year did you graduate?
From where?
From high school.
86.
That explains why I don't know any of these songs. This was
Yeah, well,
this was
I was 89, so that would be kind of my high school time, high school music.
Sure, yeah.
well.
This
has
was
been
so much fun. It
has
goes by
been
so
lovely.
fast.
I know it really does. Is there any
Doesn't
more Dom
it's
available?
painless.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think there might be a
I'm just
song
kidding.
left. Don't tell
is
anybody.
awesome.
Oh
There's a little
crap!
bit here.
No, I'm good. I was kidding.
just take it.
Don't tell anybody.
Carl, thank you very much. This was
Thank you for your time,
outstanding
Carl.
interview.
Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
it's
good.
Painless. It's painless.
Are you?
No, it's good. It's like we could have this conversation anywhere in town.
And we should again. We should talk
Over
more.
Dom.
Is there anything
Or
you'd
Louis.
like to?
Louis. Can we do Louis next time?
Who's Louis?
Louis the whatever. The big fancy gin or scotch or
Oh,
Louis
that.
the 8th, Louis the 5th,
Louis
Louis
the
the
13th.
13th. Louis the
We
13th.
won't be drinking that here unless our guest brings
We
it.
did have, I did some legal work for a friend of mine who gave me a really nice bottle of scotch, like really expensive bottle of scotch. Not a scotch drinker. And so it's been sitting in my liquor cabinet for a couple years. And Abby had some congestion over the holidays or wasn't feeling well, and her mom was in town, and her mom made her a hot toddy.
Oh yes.
So, and pulled this bottle of scotch out, and so made her this hot toddy.
Not for hot toddies.
No, but it's apparently it's
Did it work?
But now,
gotta-
now Abby's addicted to hot toddies, and she says, "Go get me another bottle." Of that, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It's like
Gotta use
$130 bottle."
doers for that.
Yeah, yes, you
exactly.
do. Oh, well, good times.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah, this is
times.
good, you
Thank
guys.
you all.
Is there anything for the good of the order that we want the public to know that we're working on? Molly, Carl, anything? No? Heads shaking.
I'm not. Chamber of Commerce seems to be doing really well.
Chamber's booming,
Killing
Restaurant Week, but you've enjoyed that already. When you're listening to this. And our annual awards is coming up in March, and we're working on some really great speaker ideas. And
how are we doing as a? Oh, you're trying to wrap up, but I was going to ask her some questions.
Well, you can.
How are we doing? I mean, it's interesting. We had this. I would say on council and in the mayor's office, we were a little bit nervous about Pinecrest opening, just because But we were nervous about Eaton opening, and Eaton took a couple shops, and Pinecrest took at least one. And I have to tell you, I haven't seen any effect. If anything, it's sort of gone the other way.
We at the chamber just we're getting the word out that we just have the best shopping in the Chagrin Valley ever. I mean, if you look at the shops that we have, from small town boutiques up to Tiffany's and Apple, I mean, you don't need to go anywhere else.
I think Pinecrest is a completely different experience, though.
Absolutely.
I don't even view the shopping at Pinecrest and Chagrin Falls as even competitive.
No, I agree. And it's interesting because I grew up in a small town, and I like living in a small town, and I like walkability, and I like shops, and you can't really replicate. I mean, you can try to make that up, but it doesn't really work necessarily. I mean, we're the authentic thing, and to back it up, we're just not here with t-shirt shops. And I mean, we have great shopping. I mean, I did all my Christmas shopping in Chagrin Falls, 100% of it. I mean, I've got lots of
great fun ideas to do during the construction. I had a long talk with Short North in Columbus.
Yeah,
they kind of went through the same thing that area is kind of very similar to Chagrin. It's that walkable, and they did a lot of creative, fun things during the renovations that they're going through and the construction that I think would suit us very well. So I'll be giving you a buzz because it's a lot of fun ideas. So
yeah, sounds good.
All right, Alex.
All right, Molly. Carl, thank
you very much.
Appreciate it. Folks, here's what you want to do. If you've listened this far, it's because you either really love Karl Maersch or you really love our podcast.
And who doesn't,
Maybe
Alex?
both. I mean, how can you not? Look at him. What you want to do now is go to our Facebook page. Best Podcast Ever has a Facebook page. You want to hit like. They ought to add a button that says obsessed, because we would get a bunch of those, Molly.
Damn straight.
Or go to thebestpodcastever.com and click subscribe or follow or whatever link is up there. But what you definitely want to do is go to iTunes and then leave comments and hit subscribe there, because that helps us out. And Molly has 2 grandkids that she needs to buy lots of gifts for now. Yes. So do that,
because
this
pays me so well.
I know, it does. Folks, we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Take it easy. I don't know, what's a good...
Peace out.
Peace out. Peace out. Thanks, guys. Bye.